I've just been setting some old computers up, and I thought I'd just do a video about the design of computer cases, because computer cases come in all different form factors and all different appearances, and all different designs for different use cases, and there's some really interesting ones, and the one you can see here in this shot is a PowerMac G4, which dates from about 1999. And I'm just wondering if this is perhaps one of the ultimate case designs, if it's perhaps one of the best ones anyone ever came up with. I've got a few other cases, and whilst there are disadvantages to this PowerMac, it has some really useful features. So I just thought I'd do a video to show you what those are, and to compare it to a few others. Now you'll have to forgive me if it's a bit dirty. I am up here in the loft, and some of my old computers do actually live up here because I don't use them that often anymore. But the first thing that's noticeable about this, apart from the acrylic, which was very popular in Apple's design ever since, well, back in those days, ever since they introduced the iMac, which came out about a year or so before this, it's actually got handles. You can grab it and pick it up and lift it. Now, not many computers do that, at least certainly back in those days they didn't. But yeah, sometimes people don't want to put their computers in one single place. It's actually quite important to move them around, and I've actually just moved this to make the video. So firstly, the handle is actually a really useful way to pick it up and carry it. But the second thing that's worthy of note, and this is probably the most significant part of the case, is the side panel actually flips down like that. Now that's not a feature you see on many computers. Most just have a side panel that lifts off, and really that's the same with a lot of new machines. This was actually quite a revolutionary design in its time. You didn't really see it anywhere, and it's still a really good design nowadays, and I think really it's a shame no one does this anymore, and I'm surprised Apple didn't pursue it with the PowerMac G5. So whilst it's open, before I show you the outside of the case, I might as well show you what's inside. Now there's nothing particularly special about this specific machine. It's a 400 MHz G4. It's not a stock configuration, it has been expanded a bit. It's just a single processor model. They did do dual processor models, but under this lovely looking heatsink is where the G4 is. I'm not going to take it off because it's been sat there for the last 25-26 years, and really don't want to take anything off, but you can see just there we've got some memory. I seem to recall it's PC 100 memory, and there's 4 slots there. It has been expanded. I think it had 64 megabytes originally. Yeah, just there you can see with the ATI logo, that's a graphics card, and I'll see if I can insert a picture of the other side of it. That's a Rage 128, I think that's the stock graphics card, and you can see it is on a PCI slot. No, it's not, it's on an AGP slot. I'm getting mixed up. There were actually 2 models of this. This is the Sawtooth model. The Sawtooth model basically had an AGP slot, and the other one, I forget what it's called, had just PCI graphics. That's a slightly better view from the front. I can't get quite round the front because obviously we're a bit blocked with the case, but you can see we've got actually some full length PCI slots. Don't see those very often. The card in front of the graphics card in the PCI slot, that's a SCSI card. So I've used that with scanners, but you could use hard disks. It's got both an internal and an external connection, so you can use internal hard disks or external disks or scanners, as I said. Just down here we've got both a 56k modem and an airport card. Interestingly, the airport card is basically just a PCMCIA card, and I don't know if you can quite see the coaxial cables which is plugged in for the antenna. I find it interesting that they actually went with that design, because obviously there's PCI slots and they've got a custom slot for the modem, so I'm not quite sure why they went for that, but I suppose it makes it nice and easy to take out and put back in. And I think they use the same cards in the iMacs and the iBooks and PowerBooks, so makes it quite easy. I'm not sure if this is a custom form factor motherboard. I'm going to say it's not it's not an ATX motherboard, so unfortunately you can't really repurpose one of these cases for another computer. So if you don't want a PowerMac G4 but you want to reuse this really awesome case, you can't just fit an ATX motherboard in. So you could, however, modify it, but we do have some other functionality. That's certainly something you don't see every day. That's an internal Firewire 400 socket. But looking into the case, you can see two hard drives mounted in the bottom right hand corner. I don't think they're original, those, or at least one of them isn't. I think it probably would have come with something like an 8 gig or a 10 gig hard drive. One of them's 75 gigs and one is something else. We'll turn it on and have a look in a bit. You can see the cooling fan mounted in the back, and that vents the air out of the back panel. And if we zoom out, you can see up in the top right hand corner there's a power supply. Again, I'm going to guess the actual design of the power supply is probably quite ordinary, but it's not a standard ATX one, I don't think, or if it's not, it's quite similar to ATX, certainly uses similar connections. And you can see we've got two drive bays. This is a feature that you just don't see in many modern computers, and I don't really get why. Now, Apple for some reason only went with two drive bays. You've got a 5¼ inch bay and a 3½ inch bay. This kit would have probably come with a CD drive originally. This has since been upgraded to a DVD burner. I don't think this doesn't have anything in it at the moment, but you could have ordered it with a zip drive, or you could have fitted a zip drive or a magneto-optical drive, or anything of that nature, or even an additional hard drive. I just think it's interesting that they only went with the one of each size drive. Now, they have done the right thing by having multiple space for hard drives. You see there's two down here, but there's also space for more here. I think you could put some there and on there. It certainly looks like you can. So you could probably have maybe 5 or 6 hard drives fitted, I think. That doesn't make sense. It just has the usual 2 IDE sockets, so you can only have 4 IDE drives in total, but with a SCSI card or another IDE card you could have more. But I just find it interesting that they only went with the one 5¼ inch drive bay, because this was actually back in the day when people were using CDs and DVDs a lot, and the people were making their own, and copying them, and often copying from one drive to another drive. And indeed, we used this exact machine back in the day for burning music CDs and making videos, and burning those to DVDs, which at the time were very, very expensive, and you had to take potluck as to whether they worked or not. So I find it quite interesting that they only went with the one drive bay, whereas most computers at the time had at least 2, and most typical cases that an enthusiast might buy would probably have 3 or 4, if not more, certainly in a case of this size. So it's quite an interesting design choice on Apple's part there, but I suppose they probably just expected you to buy an external drive and use the Firewire port, and indeed I do actually have an external drive which you can put on top, and that's actually just a regular IDE drive in a Firewire, in a housing with a Firewire interface. So they probably just expected you to use that like you would on a PowerBook or an iMac. Anyway, once you're done working inside it, the whole thing just closes up. And I think that's probably one of the best case designs for accessibility and servicing that we've ever seen. And I really can't imagine Apple going to that sort of design again nowadays. And I don't think anyone would bother to introduce something like that. I mean, a lot of higher end workstation machines are very, very serviceable, but I've never seen a design quite like this with the fold out side before. Another interesting touch, if you want to stop people from getting in and stealing your memory and your hard drive, you can actually pull this out and put a padlock on it and lock the whole thing up. So we'll just have a quick look at the ports on the back. We've got two FireWire 400 ports. This predates the newer FireWire 800. We've got a 100 megabit per second Ethernet, I think it's 100. Two USB ports, only two, because the intention is that you use a hub on the monitor or keyboard. 56k modem, microphone, audio, and hidden down here somewhere we've got a graphics card, which I don't think you can see, and the SCSI port that we mentioned earlier. Assembled in Ireland. Bet you don't see that much on modern computers. Now on the front we've got a speaker, and the CD drive cover is just basically a flap. You can just see the drive under there. If it's any normal drive, this panel does come off. And if we move down, we've got the power button, a reset button, and an interrupt switch. Now, does anyone actually know what this interrupt switch does? Mac's always had them. I don't recall ever seeing them on anything newer than this. I think the G5 didn't have one, but the G4 certainly did. So, does these actually serve any purpose? I've certainly never used it, but then I'm not a programmer, so I think they were used by programmers with the classic Mac OS, but I don't know. Right, so I've plugged it in. Let's see if we can do something with it. I've not really used this for a while. I don't use it very often. I don't really have much use for using a PowerMac G4 anymore. So I keep it around for some things. I do actually want to get some data off it, so I do have a reason for powering it up. This is an Apple Studio display. It's original to the machine. You got the choice of the LCD panel, or you could have had a CRT one. This keyboard's not original, and nor is this mouse, but they are sort of what you'd call period correct. So we booted Mac OS 9.2. It does also run Mac OS X. I've got dual booting Mac OS X 10.4 Tiger. Oh, we didn't turn it off properly, did we? We'll let it check the disk. But while it's doing that, got a few curious bits. This is a PCI card. This has absolutely nothing to do with the Mac, but it's an interesting one. It's got this which looks like a VGA port, and it's got this SCSI port on it. This is actually an iOmega Buzz card. This has video, S-video, composite video and audio inputs which you use on a breakout cable, and this is a SCSI port. There we go, get that going. And this is a SCSI port. I think it only works on Windows 95 and 98, but this is basically a video capture board and a SCSI card all in one, made by iOmega. Don't think I ever got it working. I think I might have had it working briefly, but we'll have to see if we can get it going in a machine. But that's nothing to do with the Mac. And also here we've got this, which is in a very broken state. This is actually a little mini clock radio, which was designed to look like the G3 iMacs of the time, and it got a bit smashed up quite a few years ago. Not really good for anything, but I keep it around in case I ever put it back together. So we're coming up to a Mac OS 9 boot. There we go, that's actually trying to log me into a program called Dave for use on a Windows network. And here we are at the OS 9.2 desktop. So on here you can do pretty much everything that you could on any machine of the time. We could run the early version of iTunes. iTunes did run on Mac OS 9 before they released it for OS X. So there's a few sample songs on there just to test it with. Can't play too much of that on YouTube because it's copyrighted, but iTunes plays MP3s absolutely fine. We've got a list on there of wireless networks. It's amazing how many wireless LANs these cards pick up nowadays. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 networks on there. I mean, back in the olden days, you'd be lucky to pick one up. So we've got Classilla for browsing the web, Adobe Premiere, Apple Works for word processing. I think it might have got Microsoft Office as well, but I'm actually going to have a look at the videos because I actually wanted to get some video clips off. I think the one I wanted was in here, so we can drag that into QuickTime. This is from about 5 years ago. Create internet ready video. Well, that's precisely what I'm doing. So this was shot in recent times. There we go, and this is actually just a protest in Sheffield. I photographed quite a lot of activism. This was to do with Save 12, which is something to do with either Chinese or Hong Kong. Not sure whether it's Chinese or Hong Kong. I think it was Hong Kongers, but not very good video, and I couldn't really tell what they were doing. I really just wanted a short video clip just to show that it happened. And basically I stored it on this computer because it was shot on DV, and this computer can edit DV quite nicely. So we could load this up, Rotherham. This is Premiere 6.5, which predates the old Adobe Creative Suite, but they released the Creative Suite for Windows, but they didn't bring the Premiere over to the Mac. They kept Premiere 6.5 on the Mac until the later versions. I think maybe CS3 or CS4, perhaps. But you can see we can edit video absolutely fine on here, DV video. This was shot on just some shots of Rotherham, done on a DV camcorder. They actually look quite good quality. They'd look even better on a TV screen, but that's the college, that's the markets. Again, this was probably 4 or 5 years. Thank you NHS. You know, that was something we saw a lot of at the time. And yeah, I think I actually set this up for a bigger display. It's struggling to fit things on, but you can see the detail of everything on the timeline. We've got a bit of A/B editing going on, and if we bring the monitor screen out, if we forward that on, there's actually a transition there. Let's see what it does with the transition. There we go, we've got a nice 3D transition which makes the image flip away. So that's just an example of some of the things that we can still use it for. So if you are doing DV video, these old machines do work fine, provided you're not doing any special effects or heavy colour grading or anything like that. And if you do want to burn it to a DVD disc, these things can take absolutely ages to do the MPEG-2 encoding. So while I've got the equipment out, might as well get some glamour shots, and I think we'll go and edit the video on the PowerMac. The thing is, I'm a bit tied up for space here.